Hi everyone, it's Jono. I would like to share my experience with my G15 after owning it for about 2 months now. Before we start, I would like to thank you for all your supports, likes, comments and subscribes in my 2 previous videos where I talked about the purchasing decision and the gaming performance. If you've missed them, make sure you go check it out. I'll leave the links in the description below. A quick glance at my G15 specs: 6800HS, RTX 3060 6GB, 40GB of DDR5 memory, 2TB NVMe storage at Gen 3 speed, 2K QHD 165Hz display with 350 nits max brightness. Few things to keep in mind with the stuff that I'm going to talk about. Everything is going to be out of the box settings and performance. No undervolting, overclocking or temperature restricting have been done. Let's talk about the purchasing decision experience. I really wish Asus could make it easier by only producing 2 models max across the world. What I have found is that there are many different models available in different regions. There are 6900HS, 6800HS, and they come with 3060, 3070, 3070 Ti, 3080, and 3080 Ti. There are also 2 different screens. One is the one that I have, 2K QHD 165Hz, 350 nits of max brightness. And the other one is the 2K QHD 240Hz, 500 nits of max brightness. As a consumer, I feel confused and having to go extra miles to do research and track down what's available in my regions and compare to the other regions is truly a big pain in the butt. For example, in my region, New Zealand only had the 6800HS and the 3060 available at the time of my purchase. If I didn't want to have this only option, I'll have to order it from other countries, which means I'll have no warranty at all. Buying an expensive laptop without warranty is just a no-go for me personally. To be honest, I didn't really get the points of the 2 separate CPU models to start with. They are 95% identical, same number of cores and thread counts, with the 6900HS clocks just ever so slightly higher and uses 5 more watts on papers compared to the 6800HS. Asus could have just stick with one CPU for the whole entire G15 lineup, if you ask me. CPU performance. I'm not going to talk about benchmarks here. From my experience, the 6800HS never felt slow at all for all the tasks that I throw at it. I'm a 3D production professional and I use some intensive 3D softwares and render some of my work. For gaming, it handles all games like a dream. With today's newly released CPUs, you shouldn't have any problems for most tasks unless CPU rendering is your priority. I think AMD's goal here is about performance and power ratio. The amount of performance this chip provides with only 35 watts of power is quite amazing. I'm going to talk about the heat problems in the heat section later. GPU performance. I'm going to be honest here, I wish we had the 3070 Ti or higher GPU available at the time of my purchase. And don't get me wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 3060. It's not slow by all means, it handles AAA titles above 60 FPS at 2K resolution. The only downside of the 3060 is that it only has 6GB of VRAM. It's just enough for most games for now, and not enough for some heavy demanding titles. 8GB of VRAM is a minimum and a must-have in 2022. And also 8GB of VRAM can future-proof so much better. So in short, 3060 6GB is good for now, 3070 and 3080 can future-proof much better. Hit issues. I'm going to link this part with the Asus Armory crate and the different modes together in this section because they simply ties together. I mostly use performance mode, or it's called a balance mode in some countries. CPU idles at about mid to late 50s and 60 Celsius, and GPU idles at about 50 Celsius. In my experience, I haven't encountered any major heat problems. The CPU and GPU reaches about 75 Celsius when playing games, although GPU uses about 80 to 85 watts in performance modes only. One thing that I want to mention is that although 75 Celsius doesn't sound and seems hot, but the laptop itself, it's very hot when I touch it around the vents. The area between the keyboard and the screen. It's like touching a mini stove when you're cooking a fried egg or something. I don't care what manufacturers or people say about the 90 to 95 Celsius is still a safe temperature. My common sense tells me that it is not a safe temperature in the long run, and it might slowly degrade the hardware inside the laptop. I have encountered some problems when using turbo mode. Apart from this loud noise, it seriously sounds like there's a drone flying in my room. It does stutters in games I play, lag spikes, and skip frames. I'm not 100% sure, but my guess is that the GPU has taken most of the wattage from the laptop and gives very little to the CPU. The GPU dynamic boost does work because it does reach to about 115 to 120 watts, but the CPU only uses about 10 watts when that happens. So I guess there's a firmware issues with the turbo mode. Hey guys, it's Jono. Just while I'm editing the video, I just realized when I looked at the recording, it says the GPU usage suddenly drops to like 29, 39%, 58%. I don't know why this is happening in turbo mode. I know there's a menu mode, but I just want to talk about the stock out of the box performance. But overall, heat is not a problem when using performance mode or lower. Having to restart with the mux switch is a bigger pain than I expected. The mux switch restart time is significantly slower than the regular restart time. Just keep that in mind. With battery life, there's nothing too amazing here, to be honest. With about half screen brightness, using the dedicated GPU with normal web browsing and watching YouTube videos, I get about 3.5 to 4 hours. With iGPU, half screen brightness, normal web browsing and watching YouTube videos, I get about 8 hours. It's nowhere near as good as Apple MacBooks. I would say this keyboard is very comfortable to type on. Nice travel distance, not noisy, layout is good. There's no dedicated print screen button, but there's a function key for that. If I have to nitpick, I would love to have the RGB lighting on the keyboard at this price point, and given that Asus have a very good Aura Sync software as well. It is a shame that the white model only has a single zone with only white lights and 3 different brightness adjustments. The dark gray model has a single zone RGB, just in case if you're interested. Speakers, they're good, has solid bass. I just wish they could be a bit louder. But overall though, seriously, very impressed stuff. I think the touchpads with Windows laptops are getting closer and closer with each generation to Apple touchpads. It is flawless. If I have to nitpick, there's a tiny gap on the left side, but the right side seems fine. This is just a very minor problem though, but I just want to point this out anyways. If there's one thing that I could change to make this laptop the most perfect laptop, is the brightness. 350 nits is just not enough for 2022. Yes, it's enough for dark environment, no doubt, but it is just bright enough for regular office lighting environment. Let's not talk about using this laptop under the sun. The color, refresh rate, viewing angles, everything is good, but the max brightness is the biggest letdown. I really wish Asus could have done what other competitors have done in this category by using the 500 nits max brightness panels. I know there's a better version out there with a 2K 240Hz 500 nits of max brightness out there for the 2022 model, but unfortunately I couldn't get my hands on one in my region. And this is why I talk about there are so many different models for one single laptop. Seriously, Asus, if you do watch this, please, you need to fix this. Ports selections are good. People complain about having the ports on the side instead of the rear as a problem, but I'm fine with it. Most of the ports are on the left hand side anyway, so they really don't get in the way unless you're left-handed with a mouse. Actually it's only 2.0 though. 2.1 would have been nice for future proving. So with the 2022 model, although it says it does support PCIe Gen 4, but somehow Asus have decided just to use a Gen 3 speed drive. It's like ordering a beef burger, but they only serve you half-size beef patty. That's a really bad way of saving costs, to be honest. Final thoughts. This could be the most perfect laptop if you can find the following specs. 2K QHD screen, 240Hz, 500 nits of max brightness. Minimum RTX 3070 Ti GPU. 1 stick of soldered 16 gigs DDR5 memory for upgrading in the future instead of the 8 gig. Mine came with 8 gig by default, and I upgraded 32 gigabytes on the other RAM slot so that I have a total of 40 gigabytes. An actual PCIe Gen 4 drive would be nice. It helps a lot if you render heavy footages such as 4K or higher. Better stickers placements. So yeah, this is what my experience is after having this laptop for about 2 months. Again, I purchased this with my own money. Nothing is sponsored. Let me know what you think about the G15, and if you have one as well, please feel free to comment. Love to hear your thoughts and your experience. Make sure you like and subscribe, really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and take care.